Dr. Jones, can you offer some tips for writing research papers in English? And how can writers be sure that their own readings of text are not drowned out by outside sources?
I think the first thing you need to do is spend a lot of time with the primary text, sometimes more time than you would ever imagine. 2 weeks maybe reading a 250-page novel and writing lots of notes, making sure you understand what your personal stake in the text is and where you perhaps might be misreading the text because you're engaging with it on an emotional level. But as you're reading, notice what excites you and what interests you. And you may not even have all the answers to how the text works yet, but note that down. Take plenty of notes and then go back and highlight those notes and make sure you understand what you want to say about the text, at least in the first stage. You might not know everything, but before you do any research, you need to know what you think. And then when you do your research, make sure that you are not using the critics gratuitously in your work, just to show how many critics you have used, but engage the critics or the theorist so that they will help you make your point. And don't give them too many words. Make sure that your words are more than theirs as you are using critics. One thing I noticed in a paper I read recently, and this was a very self-confident student, and I was pleased to see the self-confidence, but the student was basically taking each scholar who had written on that text and then knocking them down as sort of straw men and women along the way, almost as if the writer were in a contest with these critics. And some of that can be another kind of gratuitous use of critics. There's no point to bring in critics who are not writing directly about your topic. And the last thing I do when I'm focusing on research is something that might sound surprising, because all of the reading that you're doing for the outside sources and maybe rereading the primary text again, you'll think you have plenty of reading to do. But I never stop reading newspapers, reading a magazine article, even maybe reading a novel for pleasure, because what I find is often when I'm writing, it's those sources that will bring in a kind of wonderful creative cross-pollination into the thoughts that I'm having and the research that I'm doing.